The humble young woman burst into the boardroom and revealed the secret that could save the business empire from collapse. In a room on the 22nd floor, Richard Anderson, 58, looked desolately at the red numbers projected on the screen. His graying hair betrayed the stress accumulated over the past few months. The company founded by his father was on the verge of financial collapse after 3 consecutive quarters of losses. "Gentlemen, we need a radical solution, or we'll have to declare bankruptcy in 60 days, Richard announced to the 5 directors present at the meeting. Claudia Vance, the 45-year-old financial director, adjusted her expensive glasses and responded coldly. "Perhaps it's time to accept the Mercer Group's purchase offer. They've offered 30% of the market value from 2 years ago. It's little but better than nothing." It was at that moment that the boardroom door abruptly opened. All eyes turned to the 24-year-old woman with brown skin, curly hair tied in an improvised bun, and determined eyes. The security guard appeared right behind her, visibly embarrassed. "I'm sorry, Mr. Anderson, she said she was your niece and got past reception before we could check. I don't have a Uncle," the girl spoke firmly, taking advantage of the momentary confusion. "I know how to save your company." The silence that followed was awkward. Richard frowned, irritated by the intrusion. Claudia flashed a smile of contempt. The other executives exchanged incredulous looks. "Remove this girl," Richard ordered, gesturing to the security guard. "Please give me just 5 minutes," insisted the young woman named Lucy, as the security guard held her arm. "I'm Teresa Martin's daughter. She worked here for 15 years in the marketing department." The name made Richard freeze. His expression changed completely. "Teresa? Teresa's daughter?" He signaled for the security guard to release her. "Let her speak." Claudia immediately protested. "Richard, we don't have time for this. We're in a crucial meeting." But Richard had already stood up and indicated an empty chair for Lucy. 5 minutes, he said, looking directly at the young woman. Lucy didn't waste a second. She opened her folder and began to lay papers on the conference table, showing graphs and spreadsheets. "You're losing 42% of customers after their first purchase. Loyalty is near zero. The problem isn't with the products, which are excellent, but with the consumer experience and brand positioning." She pointed to a trend graph. "While your competitors are focusing on sustainability and social responsibility, you continue with the same inaccessible luxury approach from the 90s. The directors looked at each other, surprised by the precision of her analysis. "How do you have access to this data?" questioned Paul Reynolds, operations director, a middle-aged man with a suspicious expression. "I've been working at the ground floor coffee shop for 8 months. I observe, listen, record. I have a degree in business administration from State University, with a specialization in consumer behavior. I wrote my thesis on family businesses in identity crisis." She paused. "Like Anderson Enterprises?" Richard studied the young woman's face, looking for traces of Teresa. Yes, the same determined eyes, the same firm chin. He remembered how Teresa had been fired 5 years ago after questioning dubious practices of the former CFO, a dismissal he himself had authorized, pressured by the partners. "Continue," said Richard, ignoring Claudia's disapproving look. Lucy showed other graphs and explained her restructuring proposal, which included a radical change in positioning and an innovative digital strategy that would reduce costs and increase the brand's reach. Her time had long since expired, but no one interrupted her. She spoke with passion, knowledge, and above all, conviction. When she finished, silence once again dominated the room. It was Claudia who broke it with a dry laugh. "Lovely college presentation, darling, but real companies require real solutions, not abstract theories from a waitress." Richard, however, looked thoughtful. "I'll consider your ideas, Lucy. Can you leave these documents?" "Better than that," replied Lucy, handing over a flash drive. "Here's the complete plan, with SWOT analysis, financial projections, and implementation timeline." Claudia stood up, indignant. "Richard, you can't seriously be considering this." Richard ignored the comment. "How can I contact you?" Lucy handed him a simple, homemade business card. "My cell phone and email are there." As she was leaving, Richard asked, Why are you doing this, Lucy? Why do you care about saving Anderson? Enterprises, she turned at the door, her eyes shining intensely. Because my mother taught me that injustices need to be corrected, and because I believe that companies can be forces for transformation when in the right hands. With that, she left, leaving behind a group of perplexed executives and a Richard Anderson intrigued and, for the first time in months, with a small spark of hope. That night, in her small apartment in Liberty Heights, Lucy told her mother about the daring plan she had executed. "You did what?" Teresa almost dropped the teacup she was holding. At 52, she still maintained the beauty that had caught many eyes in the past, but the worry lines were visible on her face. "Honey, you invaded a board meeting at Anderson Enterprises?" "It worked, Mom. They listened to me." "Did Richard recognize you?" "Yes, when I mentioned your name. He seemed shaken." Teresa sighed deeply. "Lucy, you don't know what you're getting into. Anderson Enterprises isn't just a company in trouble. There are powerful interests wanting it to fail. That's exactly why we need to help, Mom. Richard may not be perfect, but at least he's kept hundreds of employees' jobs when he could have. Sold everything. Until he fired me when I reported irregularities," Teresa added bitterly. "He was manipulated, I'm sure of it, and now is our chance to prove it." Teresa looked at her daughter with a mixture of pride and concern. "You're as stubborn as your father, you know that?" Lucy smiled at the mention of her father, who had passed away 10 years ago after a long illness. "I learned from the best." Lucy's phone rang, interrupting the conversation. An unknown number appeared on the screen. "Hello? Lucy, this is Richard Anderson. I was thinking, could you come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m.? Lucy's heart raced. "Yes, sir. I'll be there." When she hung up, a smile lit up her face. "He wants to see me tomorrow." Teresa closed her eyes for a moment. "Be careful, honey. You don't know all the players on this board." The next morning, Lucy arrived 30 minutes before the scheduled time, dressed in her best outfit, a navy pencil skirt and a simple but elegant white blouse. She waited nervously in the anteroom of the main office. When she was finally announced, she found not only Richard, but also Paul Reynolds, the operations director, and to her surprise, Mark Sullivan, a man of about 70, whom she recognized as the company's longest-serving quality controller. "Good. Morning, Lucy," Richard greeted, indicating a chair. "This is Mark. He's been with us for 40 years. He even knew my father." "It's a pleasure, Mr. Sullivan," said Lucy, extending her hand. Mark, with his white hair and slightly hunched posture, from the years shook her hand with surprising firmness. "The pleasure is mine, young lady. Richard told me about your triumphant entrance yesterday." Lucy blushed slightly. "I apologize for the unconventional approach." "Don't apologize for having courage," replied Mark with a gentle smile. "This company was built by people who dared." Richard got straight to the point. "I analyzed your plan overnight, Lucy. It's bold, perhaps even reckless in some aspects, but it might work," Paul added, "especially the part about restructuring the customer experience. We'd never thought about implementing such a comprehensive feedback system. And the proposal to reposition the brand as a pioneer in sustainability in the luxury sector is brilliant," Mark completed. "I consider this a return to our roots. Anthony Anderson, the founder, always cared about environmental impact, even when nobody was talking about it." Richard was watching Lucy intently. "However, we can't simply hire a young woman with no proven experience to lead a transformation of this magnitude." Lucy's smile faded. "Therefore," Richard continued, "I'd like to propose a 30-day trial period. You'll work directly with me and Mark, developing a prototype of your plan for the accessories department, our least compromised line. If it works, we'll implement it throughout the company." Lucy's eyes sparkled. "I accept. When do I start?" "Right now," replied Richard, handing her a temporary badge. "Mark will show you your workspace and introduce you to the team." When they left the office, Paul turned to Richard. "Are you sure about this? Claudia will be furious." "Claudia seems very concerned with the Mercers' interests lately," Richard replied thoughtfully. "Besides, what do we have to lose? We're sinking anyway." Mark led Lucy through the company corridors, introducing her to employees they met along the way. Curious glances followed her. News of the meeting invasion had already circulated widely. "Don't mind the whispers," said Mark. "They'll get used to it soon. Here's your space." It was a small room with a desk, computer, and some files. Nothing luxurious, but to Lucy it represented an opportunity she never imagined having so early. "Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. I promise not to disappoint." "Just Mark, please, and I know you won't disappoint. You have your mother's eyes." Lucy stared at him, surprised. "You knew my mother?" "Teresa, of course, one of the best professionals who ever worked here. What they did to her." He interrupted himself, looking around cautiously. "Well, that's a matter for another time. Now let's get to work." The first weeks were intense. Lucy dived headfirst into the project, analyzing data, interviewing customers, and collaborating with the small team Richard had made available. Mark became her informal mentor, sharing valuable insights about the company's history and culture. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out, now continuing. However, not everything was rosy. Claudia Vance made a point of making Lucy's work difficult whenever possible. Meetings were rescheduled without notice, important documents disappeared, and malicious rumors about the invader niece circulated the corridors. The situation worsened when the day of the first partial presentation of results arrived. Lucy had meticulously prepared a demonstration of the new customer relationship application, one of the central pieces of her strategy. The complete board would be present, including 2 minority shareholders. Minutes before the presentation, she discovered that someone had sabotaged the slide file and corrupted the prototype demonstration. Pale, she tried to recover the data while the directors were already settling into the boardroom. "Technical problems?" Claudia asked with a barely disguised smile as she passed by. Lucy felt her stomach sink. She wouldn't be able to recover everything in time. That's when Mark appeared at her side. "I saw what happened. I have a flash drive. With the backup you sent me yesterday, it's not the final version, but it will do." With relief, Lucy accepted the help. She managed to give the presentation, albeit without the functional prototype demonstration she had planned. Richard seemed disappointed, and the shareholders skeptical. "I thought we would see something revolutionary, not just slides and theories," one of them commented at the end. "The prototype will be ready next week," Lucy promised, swallowing her frustration. When everyone left, she collapsed in a chair, fighting back tears. Richard approached. "It wasn't what we expected, Lucy." "Someone sabotaged my presentation, Mr. Anderson. The files were deliberately corrupted." Richard frowned. "Are you accusing someone on my team?" "I'm stating a fact. I can technically prove there was a system breach." Before Richard could respond, Claudia entered the room. "The shareholders want to speak with you, Richard. They're concerned about the direction of this experiment." Richard hesitated, looking from Lucy to Claudia. "We'll continue this conversation later," he finally said, following Claudia out. That night, Lucy told her mother everything, venting her frustration and doubts. "Maybe I'm not ready for this, Mom. Maybe it's too presumptuous to think I can save a company of this size." Teresa held her daughter's hands. "Lucy, remember what your father always said. The size of the challenge doesn't matter, only the firmness of your steps. But someone is deliberately sabotaging my work. Then that means they're afraid of you." Lucy reflected on her mother's words. "I think I know who's behind this, but I need proof." "Be careful, honey. Some people have a lot to lose if you succeed." The next day, Lucy arrived early at the company, determined to make up for lost time. To her surprise, she found Anna Beatrice Carter, Claudia's young assistant, tampering with her computer. "What are you doing here?" Lucy asked, blocking the exit. Anna Beatrice, a 27-year-old woman with an air of sophistication, momentarily seemed disconcerted, but quickly regained her composure. "Claudia asked me to check if the financial reports were updated in the system." "On my personal computer? At 7:30 in the morning?" "I have authorization to access all terminals," replied Anna Beatrice arrogantly. "I'm the financial director's assistant. Now, excuse me." Lucy blocked her path again. Not so fast. Let's verify this authorization with Richard. Anna Beatrice paled. Don't bother Mr. Anderson with trifles. He has more important matters to deal with. Like the purchase proposal that the Mercer Group increased to 40%. The information caught Lucy by surprise. They increased the offer. When? Last night, revealed Anna Beatrice, seeming pleased to know something Lucy didn't. Claudia is convincing the shareholders that it's the best way out. Your little game is coming to an end, niece. When Anna Beatrice left, Lucy immediately checked her computer. As suspected, there were signs of file copying and installation of monitoring software. Her intuition was correct. They were spying on her work. Instead of confronting Claudia directly, Lucy decided to play a smarter game. She asked for help from Julian Martinez, a young man from the IT department with whom she had made friends. I need you to help me set up a digital trap, she explained. Julian, a 30-year-old black man with colorful dreads and sharp intelligence, smiled with excitement. Count me in. What do you have in mind? I want to create a fake file with a revolutionary strategy, something so attractive that the person spying on me won't resist. But when it's opened, I want to know exactly when and by whom. A reverse Trojan horse. I like that, said Julian, already planning the technical execution. Meanwhile, Mark was conducting his own investigations. As the longest-serving employee, he knew every corner of the company and had access to information that few possessed. It was he who discovered that Claudia had started working at Anderson Enterprises shortly after George Mercer, owner of the Mercer Group, divorced his first wife, who, coincidentally, was Claudia's cousin. The connection was always there, right under our noses, Mark commented as he shared the information with Lucy. So she might have been acting as an informant for the Mercers for years, concluded Lucy. That would explain why the company started making questionable decisions exactly when she took over as financial director. The digital trap didn't take long to work. In less than 24 hours, the fake file was accessed from Anna Beatrice's computer, but using Claudia's credentials. We have the proof, said Julian, showing Lucy the access logs. And more. I managed to track emails forwarded with confidential Anderson information to a server associated with the Mercer Group. We need to take this to Richard immediately, decided Lucy. But when they went to look for him, they discovered he had suddenly traveled to Los Angeles. According to his secretary, he had gone to meet with potential investors. Actually, revealed Mark after making some calls, he went to meet with Elizabeth Anderson. Who's Elizabeth? Asked Lucy. His ex-wife. They separated 8 years ago, after she cheated on him with George Mercer. Lucy felt the puzzle pieces fitting together. So there's a personal connection in all this? Richard could be considering selling the company to his ex-wife's former lover. The divorce was extremely bitter, explained Mark. Elizabeth demanded half the company, but ended up accepting a smaller cash settlement. If she's now involved with the purchase attempt, that could explain why Richard seems so reluctant to accept my ideas, concluded Lucy. Maybe he's already given up on the company a long time ago. The following days were tense. With Richard absent, Claudia practically took control, relegating Lucy to minor tasks and preventing her access to important information. But Lucy, Mark, and Julian continued working discreetly, refining the restructuring plan and collecting more evidence about the corporate espionage. When Richard finally returned, he seemed downcast and distant. He ignored Lucy's attempts to schedule a meeting, shutting himself in his office with Claudia and the company's lawyers. It was Anna Beatrice, surprisingly, who sought out Lucy at the end of that day. The young assistant seemed nervous and guilty. I need to talk to you, she said, constantly looking around to ensure no one was watching them. I no longer agree with what's happening. What are you talking about? Lucy asked cautiously. Claudia, she's not just helping the Mercers. She's manipulating financial data to make the company appear less valuable than it really is. That's fraud, whispered Lucy, shocked by the revelation. Yes, and Richard just agreed to put the sale proposal to a vote in the board next week. If it's approved, hundreds of people will lose their jobs because the Mercers' plan is to dismantle the company and sell its parts separately. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine. Why are you telling me this? Anna Beatrice's eyes welled up. My father has worked at the factory in Glendale for 25 years. He'll be one of the first to be fired if the plan goes ahead. Do you have proof of the data manipulation? Anna Beatrice hesitated. I have access to the original spreadsheet and the altered version that will be presented to the board. I need those documents. I could lose my job, or worse. Hundreds of families will lose their source of income if we don't act, argued Lucy, including your father's. Anna Beatrice thought for a moment and then nodded. I'll send them to you tonight. Use a secure email. When Anna Beatrice walked away, Mark approached Lucy. What did she want? Possibly to give us the ammunition we need, replied Lucy, a new fire lighting in her eyes. But we need to act quickly. That night, as promised, Anna Beatrice sent the documents. The manipulation was clear and significant. Undervalued assets, overestimated debts, intentionally pessimistic growth projections. With this false information, the board would certainly approve the sale of the company for a fraction of its real value. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Lucy, Mark and Julian worked tirelessly for the next 2 days, preparing a presentation that would not only unmask the fraud, but also demonstrate how the restructuring plan could save the company and significantly increase its market value. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday at 10 a.m. Thursday night, while finalizing the preparations, Teresa appeared at the company to bring food for her daughter, who had barely slept in the past few days. You need to rest, Lucy, she insisted, concerned about her daughter's deep, dark circles. Tomorrow, Mum, after all this is over. Teresa observed the three working together, her daughter, the veteran Mark, and the young technology specialist Julian. She felt a pang of pride mixed with apprehension. Does Richard Anderson know what you've discovered? We tried to speak with him, but Claudia has been blocking all our access, explained Mark. Our only chance is the board meeting tomorrow. He may not like being surprised like this, warned Teresa. I've known Richard for a long time. He has a fragile ego behind that tough CEO facade. We don't have a choice, Mom, replied Lucy. If we don't act tomorrow, the company will be sold for a ridiculous price and hundreds of people will lose their jobs. Teresa sighed. Just be careful. People like Claudia and the Mercers don't play fair when their interests are threatened. The next morning, Lucy arrived at the company 2 hours before the meeting. To her surprise, her badge didn't work at the entrance turnstile. I'm sorry, miss, said the security guard, checking his computer. Your access was revoked last night. There must be some mistake. I have a presentation to make at the board. Meeting in 2 hours. I'm sorry, but the orders came directly from management. Desperate, Lucy tried to call Mark and Julian, but neither answered. She sent urgent messages with no response. It was as if everything was conspiring against her at the most crucial moment. That's when she saw Paula Oliver, Richard's secretary, arriving for work. Paula, Lucy called out, I need to get in, it's urgent. Paula looked nervously at the security guard and then at Lucy. I can't help, Lucy. I received specific orders. From Richard? Paula hesitated. From Claudia? Paula, they're about to sell the company based on fraudulent documents. Hundreds of people will lose their jobs, including you. The secretary looked conflicted. After a moment of indecision, she muttered, Meet me at the side entrance in 5 minutes. Exactly 5 minutes later, a side door opened and Paula signaled for Lucy to enter quickly. Go to the archives room in the basement, she instructed. Mark is there. His access was also revoked, but he arrived before the order was implemented. And Julian? I don't know. I haven't seen him today. Lucy ran to the basement, taking service stairs to avoid being seen. She found Mark in the archives room, looking tense and worried. Thank God you made it, he said. I thought you wouldn't be able to get in. Paula helped me. What's happening? Claudia discovered our investigation. Anna Beatrice was fired last night, leaking confidential information according to the official justification. And Julian? I haven't been able to reach him since yesterday. His system access was also blocked. Lucy felt desperation growing. Without Julian, we can't access the servers to show the evidence during the meeting. I have a physical copy of the documents, said Mark, showing a folder. But we can't make the full presentation without digital access. Lucy thought quickly. The meeting starts in less than an hour. We need to get to the boardroom somehow. The board members will start arriving soon. We can try to enter with them, but Claudia has probably put extra security in place. It was at that moment that Lucy's phone vibrated with a message. It was from Julian. I'm outside with your laptop. I have a plan B. Meet me at the coffee shop in 10 minutes. With her heart racing, Lucy showed the message to Mark. Shall we go? It's our only chance. They cautiously left the archives room, avoiding the main corridors. When they reached the ground floor coffee shop, they saw Julian sitting in a corner, pretending to drink coffee while working on a laptop. What happened? Lucy asked as she joined him. They tried to break into my apartment last night, revealed Julian, showing a cut on his eyebrow. Luckily, I have a decent security system. I managed to escape through the back with your laptop and the backups. My God, Julian, exclaimed Lucy, horrified. We need to call the police. I already filed a report. But now our priority is to prevent the fraudulent sale. How are we going to get into the meeting? Our access has been blocked. Julian smiled, showing an ID card. I got this from a friend. I'm the new IT technician hired to ensure the financial director's presentation goes smoothly. Brilliant, admired Mark. But what about us? Security will be focused on the main entrances to the boardroom. But there's a service entrance that leads to the technical area, right behind the stage. If I can distract them for a few minutes, you can enter through there. The plan was risky, but they had no alternative. Julian entered first as the hired technician, while Lucy and Mark waited for the signal. 15 minutes later, they received a message. Now. They quickly headed to the service entrance using the key Julian had left for them. As they entered, they heard Claudia's voice echoing in the boardroom through the half-open door. And so, gentlemen, as these numbers demonstrate, the Mercer Group's offer represents the best, perhaps the only way out for Anderson Enterprises at this critical moment. Lucy peeked through the door crack. The room was full. The 7 board members, Richard at the head of the table, Claudia standing presenting slides, and to her surprise, George Mercer and an elegant woman she presumed to be Elizabeth, Richard's ex-wife. Any problem with the audio system? Asked Richard, noticing that Julian was insistently fiddling with the equipment. Just final adjustments, sir, replied Julian. Almost ready. Lucy and Mark exchanged glances. It was time to act. Before we vote, said Richard, I'd like to hear other opinions. Unfortunately, it seems our young consultant hasn't shown up today. As I said, Claudia quickly intervened, her experiment didn't produce concrete results. We have to be practical. I strongly disagree, declared Lucy, opening the door and entering the room with Mark. All eyes turned to her. Claudia paled. Richard momentarily looked shocked, but his expression soon transformed into something between relief and concern. How did you get in here? Demanded Claudia. Security! Before I'm thrown out, Lucy said quickly, the board members need to know they're about to approve a sale based on fraudulent data. A murmur ran through the room. George Mercer stood up, visibly irritated. This is defamation. Richard, control your employees. Richard hesitated, looking at Lucy. What proof do you have of these accusations? At that moment, Julian finished his work on the equipment. System ready, Lucy. Claudia tried to block Lucy's access to the main computer, but Richard stopped her with a firm gesture. Let her speak. For the next 20 minutes, Lucy presented the meticulously compiled evidence. She showed the original documents and the altered versions, highlighting the discrepancies. She explained how assets had been undervalued and debts overestimated. She demonstrated with graphs and projections how the true value of the company was at least 3 times greater than what the Mercer Group was offering. And most seriously, she concluded, there are emails proving that confidential Anderson information was systematically sent to the Mercer Group over the past 2 years, allowing them to structure an artificially low offer. The room plunged into silence when Julian projected the emails on the screen. Claudia, trembling with anger, shouted, "This is an invasion of privacy. These documents were obtained illegally." Actually, Mark intervened, they were obtained during an internal investigation implicitly authorized when Ms. Martin was hired to assess the company's situation. The board members whispered among themselves, clearly disturbed by the revelations. George Mercer abruptly stood up. "This is ridiculous. We came here in good faith, Richard. If this is how you conduct your business—" "Sit down, George," Richard ordered with surprising authority. "The board hasn't decided anything yet." Elizabeth, who had remained silent until then, addressed Richard. "Did you know about all this?" "No," he replied, looking directly at her. "But did you?" Her silence was answer enough. Richard turned to Lucy. "You mentioned having an alternative plan to save the company. Can you present it now?" With renewed confidence, Lucy presented her vision for restructuring Anderson Enterprises. She explained how the company could reposition itself in the market, focusing on sustainability and social responsibility without abandoning the luxury that was its trademark. She detailed an innovative digital strategy that would reduce operating costs by 30% while expanding the brand's reach. And finally, she presented realistic financial projections showing the company returning to profit in less than a year. When she finished, several board members spontaneously applauded. Richard looked at each of them and then at George and Elizabeth, who now seemed uncomfortable. "Board members, I believe we have much to discuss," he said. "I'll ask non-board members to leave us alone for deliberation." As everyone was leaving, Richard called Lucy aside. "Why didn't you come directly to me with this information?" "I tried, Mr. Anderson, several times, but there was always someone blocking my access to you." Richard nodded slowly, understanding forming in his look. "Thank you for your courage, Lucy. Regardless of the board's decision today, you've rendered a great service to Anderson." The following hours were of agonizing weight. Lucy, Mark, and Julian remained together in the cafeteria, speculating about what might be happening in the boardroom. "You were incredible in there," Julian praised. "We were incredible," corrected Lucy. "It was teamwork." Mark smiled, proud. "You know what impressed me the most? Seeing you confront Claudia, George, and Elizabeth without hesitation. It reminded me of your mother years ago, defending her principles, even when it cost her job." Lucy felt a wave of emotion. "I hope she'll be proud when she finds out." "She already is," said a voice behind them. It was Teresa, who had just arrived. "Paula called me telling me what happened. I couldn't be more proud, honey." Mother and daughter embraced while Mark and Julian watched with emotional smiles. It was at that moment that Paula appeared, looking agitated. "Lucy, Richard is calling all four of you to the boardroom, now." With hearts pounding, they followed Paula through the now almost empty corridors. Entering the boardroom, they found only Richard, looking exhausted but with a determined gleam in his eyes. "Please sit down," he invited. "The board has just made a unanimous decision." The silence was palpable as everyone awaited the verdict. "The Mercer Group's proposal was rejected," Richard finally announced, "and Claudia Vance has been removed from her duties, pending investigation for corporate espionage and fraud." A collective sigh of relief ran through the group. Lucy could hardly believe they had succeeded. "But this is just the beginning," Richard continued. "The board has also approved the immediate implementation of the restructuring plan presented by Ms. Martin, with an initial budget of $50 million for the first 6 months. Lucy gasped, surprised by the magnitude of the commitment. And finally, Richard looked directly at Teresa. The board publicly acknowledged the mistake made 5 years ago and voted for adequate compensation for Ms. Teresa Martin, along with a formal apology. Teresa covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes misting. "Richard, don't say anything, Teresa. I should have trusted you back then, just as I should have trusted your daughter from the beginning of this crisis. You both have the same determined look when fighting for what you believe in." Richard then turned to Lucy. "The board has created a new position especially for you, Director of Innovation and Digital Transformation. The financial directorship will be temporarily led by an external consultant until we find someone trustworthy." Lucy could barely process the information. In a matter of weeks, she had gone from coffee shop attendant to director of one of the largest companies in America. "Mr. Anderson, Richard, please," he smiled. I think after today we deserve a little less formality." He extended his hand to Lucy, who shook it firmly. "Welcome officially to the Anderson Enterprises family. The company desperately needed new blood and fresh ideas." For Mark, Richard offered a promotion to Director of Organizational Culture, recognizing his 4 decades of loyalty. For Julian, the opportunity to lead a new digital security and technology division. "What about the Mercers?" asked Teresa. Richard's countenance hardened slightly. "George and Elizabeth left here with their tails between their legs, but make no mistake, they won't give up easily. We'll need to stay alert." "We will," Lucy assured with conviction. In the months that followed, Anderson Enterprises underwent a profound transformation under the shared leadership of Richard and his renewed team. Lucy's plan was successfully implemented, repositioning the brand as a pioneer in sustainable and socially responsible luxury. The eco-friendly accessories, line she had proposed as a test, became a sales phenomenon, attracting a new generation of conscious consumers. The company's digital presence grew exponentially, with the customer relationship application winning innovation awards in the industry. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. The value of Anderson shares tripled in 1 year. Former employees received special bonuses, and new talent was attracted by the company's renewed reputation. The factory in Glendale, which was to be closed, received new investments and expanded its staff, including Anna Beatrice's father, who was promoted to supervisor. Anna Beatrice, in turn, was rehired and began working directly with Lucy, proving herself a loyal and competent ally. Her courage in revealing Claudia's manipulations, even risking her job, showed a character that the team valued. On a sunny afternoon, a year after the fateful board meeting, Lucy was in her new office overlooking Central Park. She was reviewing the results of the last quarter, the 3rd consecutive profit, when she received an unexpected visit. "May I come in?" asked Richard, knocking lightly on the open door. "Of course, I was just analyzing the quarterly numbers. We're 12% above the most optimistic projections." Richard smiled, sitting comfortably in the armchair in front of Lucy's desk. "I'm not surprised. Your vision for the company has proven spot on in every aspect." "It's a team effort," she replied modestly. "Everyone contributed to this turnaround." "Yes, but it was you who had the courage to burst into that boardroom a year ago and say, 'Uncle, I know how to save your company,'" he recalled, with an affectionate smile. They both laughed at the memory. Lucy had become almost a real niece to Richard, who had no children. "Actually," he continued, his countenance becoming more serious, "I came here to discuss an idea I've been considering for some time." "I'm listening," said Lucy, intrigued. "I'm thinking of creating a foundation, the Anderson Foundation for Social Innovation. I want to allocate 10% of the company's annual profits to finance young entrepreneurs from underprivileged communities, giving them the kind of opportunity you created for yourself." Lucy's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "Richard, that's wonderful. Imagine how many talents we'll discover, how many lives we'll transform." "Exactly. And I want you to lead this project alongside your current functions. No one better than you to identify and nurture these new talents." "It would be an honor," replied Lucy, genuinely moved. "When can we start?" "Immediately. I've already reserved a room downstairs for the Foundation's headquarters, and your first task will be to organize a launch event for a month from now." As he left Lucy's office, Richard met Teresa in the hallway. She now worked as a special marketing consultant, bringing back her valuable experience. "Did she accept?" asked Teresa. "With enthusiasm, as you predicted," replied Richard. "Your daughter is truly extraordinary, Teresa." "I always knew that. I just hoped the world would discover it one day too." That night, Lucy, Teresa, Mark, Julian, and Anna Beatrice gathered for a celebration dinner at the new apartment Lucy had bought for herself and her mother, modest but comfortable and well located. "To the Anderson Foundation," toasted Mark, raising his glass. "And to the girl who had the audacity to invade a board meeting," added Julian. Everyone laughed and toasted, but Lucy remained thoughtful. "What is it, honey?" asked Teresa, noticing her expression. I'm thinking of all the talented people who never get the chance to show their potential, of how many me's are out there with brilliant ideas, but without a door to enter or invade. Well, now you're in a position to open those doors, observed Anna Beatrice. Yes, agreed Lucy, her eyes shining with determination, and that's exactly what I intend to do. In the weeks that followed, Lucy dived into the foundation project with the same passion and dedication she had shown in saving Anderson Enterprises. She developed selection criteria, structured mentoring programs, and established partnerships with public universities and social organizations. The launch event, held in the company's main auditorium, was a resounding success. Business people, politicians, celebrities, and most importantly, young people from underprivileged communities across America attended to witness the beginning of an initiative that promised to transform lives. During her speech, Lucy couldn't contain her emotions seeing her mother in the front row, eyes brimming with pride. Just over a year ago, I was a coffee shop attendant with a diploma tucked away in a drawer and dreams that seemed impossible, she told the attentive audience. Today I'm here not because I'm special, but because I had the opportunity to show what I'm capable of. The Anderson Foundation exists to give that same opportunity to thousands of talented young people who, like me, just need an open door or the courage to invade a boardroom. The audience laughed and applauded enthusiastically. Richard, seated next to Teresa, leaned toward her and whispered, "Your daughter not only saved my company, she's changing the way we do business in this country." Teresa nodded, too emotional to speak. After the event, a young woman of approximately 18 approached Lucy timidly. Her eyes sparkled with the same determination Lucy had a year ago. "Ms. Martin, my name is Carolyn. I come from a community in Brooklyn, and I have an idea for an app that could revolutionize access to education in underprivileged areas. Could you give me 5 minutes of your time?" Lucy smiled, vividly remembering herself in front of Richard at that first meeting. 5 minutes? Caroline, I'm going to give you much more than that. Let's talk about your app right now. As she walked away with the young woman for a more private conversation, Lucy felt the circle was complete. From boardroom invader to mentor of new talent, her journey had only just begun. And the future, both for Anderson Enterprises and for the foundation, had never seemed so promising. End of story. Now it's your turn. What did you think of this story of overcoming and courage? Do you believe Lucy made the right choice by risking everything to save the company? Share your opinion in the comments and tell us where you're following us from. Don't forget to leave your like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next exciting stories.